So it looks like we're going to be hanging around the Apex for just a little bit longer, or maybe for the rest of eternity. According to Dave Shaw of the UFC, despite COVID being 4 years ago and the whole pandemic having us move into the Apex for UFC events, we're still going to be in the Apex next year, 2025, a whole 5 years after that whole ordeal. Great, that's what I have to say about that. But in this video, I'll get into my ideas for why we should keep around the Apex, because as bad as it is, as much as I hate it, we do kind of need the Apex. If the UFC fucking listens to me, catches wind of this video, and listens to what my idea is for this, please, if you're going to do an Apex card, do it the right way. Yep, so courtesy of Dave Shaw, there will be an increase in the number of events outside the Apex as we go into the 2025 schedule, but there is a caveat. Let's hear him say exactly what he was trying to portray.
More road shows in 2025, kind of leaving the Apex more and more.
Yeah, there will be. There'll be an increased number of events outside of the Apex relative to this year as we get into the 2025 schedule.
Well, thank goodness, because I'm getting tired of having Apex events every other week.
Is there always going to be a certain number of Apex events moving forward? Like, will always be maybe one a month? Or...
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for us to anticipate what 2 or 3 years down the road.
Tough to us to anticipate once a month, like that guy just said. Please, once a month, if you're going to have a schedule of UFC, make it regular, make it understandable, make the casuals understand what's going on with the UFC. Please, you should have 3 events per month. 3 events per month. 1 at the Apex, 1 fight night on the road, and then 1 pay-per-view.
Road's going to look like, but it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of fighters in Vegas. It's easy for us operationally. It's obvious.
Okay, good for you, but you have a brand to uphold and a brand to push to the casual audience. I don't care that they mostly train out of Vegas and that the Apex is there and the fight center and the fight capital of the world is Vegas. I don't give a damn. You need to put this stuff out there. You need to go on a media marketing campaign, and that's what you do when you have fight nights in random cities across the world, dude.
Obviously, simple from a budgetary perspective.
Yes, we know it saves money because it's cheap. It's a small cage. You don't have to have that big production crew. You don't have to travel. You don't have to pay for coaches to go everywhere. You don't have to pay for fighters to have hotels and restaurants and all this shit booked up for them. It's a pay cut. It's a huge pay discrepancy between going somewhere and staying at home in your own fucking building. Obviously. Like, whoa, not it. I mean, okay.
The rigor and the pressure and how laborious it can be to be on the road. I mean, you guys.
Wow, good for you, man. Well, then don't go on the road every single week. Don't go on the road back-to-back weeks. Just do it. Spread it out. Make it understandable for the casual audience. Make a schedule that can be followed.
You know what?
Build up these fight nights that are outside of the Apex. Make them a big deal. And you don't do that, so of course it's fucking going through the motions. Oh, the rigor of it. Yes, it's tough, but what do you think the fucking NFL and the NHL and the MLB does? They travel 3-4 times a week.
Week in, week out with us and other promotions. It's tough, and so I think having home games and being in the Apex where, you can just...
Home games? Nobody can go see the goddamn fights. If there's a great fight, you put it on the fucking Apex. Why? Put it in a fight night. If you have sucky-ass fight cards at somewhere, you're trying to save money when you travel somewhere, why? There's no point in doing that. Because the fights were terrible. Edmonton just happened last night. It was one of the worst fight night cards outside the Apex I've seen in the last 5 years.
Turn off the lights and lock the door.
Yeah, good for you. It's easier at the Apex. I mean, obviously it's easier at the Apex. That's why you do Dana White Contender Series there, because it makes sense to do it at the Apex. It makes sense to do the Ultimate Fighter at the Apex. It makes sense to do shitty fight night cards at the Apex. But you can't just be doing it because it's easy. You do it for a reason.
It makes a lot of sense for us. So will we ever get back to pre-COVID of no Apex? I don't think so. But I think we're going to find the right balance for us.
Yeah, you better find the right balance. And let me explain to you what the right balance is, Dave Shaw. Dipshit, who the fuck are you, man? I don't know who this is. Yes, I do know who it is, obviously, but who do you think you are saying this kind of stuff? Like, you're absolutely retarded and you don't seem to understand how to run a fucking brand operation. You don't seem to know how to run a company. If you are going to do, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, if you're going to do Apex cards once a month, you better have it laid out very simply for the casual audience. You're going to do 1 Apex Fight Night card to start off the month, okay? It's going to be a fucking shitty card with all your prospects, all your guys that nobody knows about, the casual don't understand, the people that you just signed from Tough, the people that you just signed from the Dana White Contender Series. You're going to put them all on the card. You're going to put 8 or 10 fights on this card. You are then going to have a mid-level co-main event. 2 well-known guys who probably aren't ranked, but good enough, like a Cody Garbrandt and a Miles Johns. I believe that fight is going down next week. That is a fine co-main event for a shitty Apex card. This is supposed to be building up stars. What you want to do, and Chael Sonnen says it every freaking week when he goes on his show, that you want to be building and escalating towards the top of a pay-per-view. So where do you start? You get signed off the Contender Series, you get signed off the streets, you get signed off of Tough, you move to an Apex card. You have 3 fights on an Apex card. You have 3 Apex fight nights where you are participating and you are slowly moving up the card, or you become a prospect that washes out and is boring and nobody wants to see and you can't win fights, okay? And then a main event at the Apex, it's a mid-level, top 10, top 15, you know, that kind of range in the top, you know, outside the top 8 fighters of 2 guys, a decent, kind of like a boring, like a Jack Hermanson, a Marvin Vittoria, Jared Cannonier, kind of that kind of, think of those guys when I think of a Apex main event. A kind of mid to low stakes fight main event within a weight class in the top 10 to 15 that doesn't have a ton of stakes, but it is important, and it's 2 high level guys, but they're not very like fan appealing fighters. They're not very energetic fighters. They're not like super outgoing fighters. They're just have a moderate style. Okay. So it's a meaningful fight, but it's nothing crazy. It just headlines an event. So then after you get done with your Apex card, you move on to a fight night. You go somewhere across the United States, or you go somewhere across the world, some small city where you can push the branding of the UFC, get people to show up to an arena. Okay. Small cities, not big cities. Go to like a, you know, where can we go? Anywhere in the, you know, Wichita, Kansas, Raleigh, North Carolina, something like that. Some just random, small-ish, mid-level city, and put a fight night card there where you have hometown guys from top to bottom, exciting fighters from top to bottom, your prospects who moved from the Apex cards to the fight nights. They're on the proving ground. The fight nights are the go out to the actual world, go out to the real people, and put on a good performance. If you do that, you can move on to a pay-per-view. So you put on a good fight night card, decent, not a lot of ranked fighters, but just your good prospects. And you have a main event that's really, really solid, maybe has some ties to the region, like a Nate the Train Landwehr in Tennessee. Think of that. Maybe he's not super highly ranked, but he's very popular in the area. That's your main event with some high stakes because he's a guy from the area. And then once you guys move on past that, and once some of these fighters on the undercard of that card move up to the co-main main event, then they can jump into pay-per-views. The pay-per-views should have ranked fighters from top to bottom with a great stacked main card with all highly ranked fighters across all the divisions, multiple championship bouts, whatever. You could even do some championship bouts if you go to China, put a Chinese fighter in it. If you go to Australia for a fight night card, put an Australian in the main event of it. That's okay. That's supposed to sell. You need to put these champions out there to the mainstream media. You need to put these fighters on national TV, on fight night events, so that then people will go buy the pay-per-views when they fight next time, okay? So the pay-per-views, you're always moving up the card. You move up, you start at the bottom with a Dana White Contender Series win or a Tough win. You get into the Apex, you move up the Apex card with good rising performances, entertaining wins, whatever. You move up the card, and then you move on to a fight night somewhere. You move up the card slowly, and then you get to a pay-per-view. You start in the early prelims, then the prelims, and then you're on the main card. Maybe you're the feature bout, and then your co-main event. You got to move up the card in popularity. As you arrive to the scene, as you drive entertainment value and wins, you move up the card. That's how this is supposed to work. This is how combat sports has worked for forever. Do you not understand this, UFC? Because if you don't understand this, fucking come talk to your boy. Go talk to Chael Sonnen. Anybody who's been saying this kind of stuff. This is my idea. Apex, fight night, pay-per-view. 3 fight nights a month. Easy. Keep the schedule clean and consistent and easy for everyone to follow inside or outside of MMA. You build stars by doing that, by having them fight on a consistent basis and having casual fans tune in and see them, and then they want to see them on pay-per-view. That's the whole fucking point of this. Come on now. You want to sell pay-per-views? You build up anticipation from the ground up. You start in the Apex, then you move on, and then you get to the pay-per-view finally at the end of the day. Come on now. UFC's smarter than this. Let's do it. Please listen to me. Come on. What do you think about my ideas here, guys? Anyone watching this video, what do you think about what I just said? Put it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.